Welcome back to Eat This Drink That Go. You know, we have so many friends of this show and people who listen to it and have been guests on the program that are small business owners. Many of them are in the hospitality industry. In fact, Brenda and I started this business 9 years ago to be able to serve those in the hospitality industry because we felt it was an underserved community in South Florida. We're so pleased to be joined by Daniel Benavides from Sandman Savran, a law firm that specializes in hospitality. Because there's so many things that folks do not do when they're starting a business.
To protect themselves, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the first initial element, which is creating a lease for the space you're going to be, whether it's a restaurant or a donut shop, whatever it might be.
A hotel or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, too many small businesses, if I had to say the number one reason that restaurants fail, people ask me this all the time, it's the lease. It's the lease. I mean, people like to save money. They think, oh, you know, I'm not going to use an attorney. I'm just going to, you know, it's probably non-negotiable. The landlord, you know, the broker's pressuring you to sign it. We're going to sign it and proceed with our restaurant. And then they find out 6 months later, a year later, that they didn't sign a good deal. And they end up out of business.
Right.
It happens all the time.
What kind of things can happen with that? You don't have the legal advice and you sign this thing. You might fall 1 month behind your payment. What happens?
Well, so the first thing that happens, you sign the lease, right? Usually there's a build-out phase. Okay, there's a period of time when you need to set up your restaurant. You need to buy your kitchen equipment. You have to get your signage. The issue becomes permitting, right? Getting the right permits to do all of that. And I think people underestimate the amount of time that it's going to take to build out the restaurant, to get the permits, to open.
Right.
And they have a certain period of time that the landlord has given them to not pay rent. So there's usually a rent abatement or a tenant improvement allowance or something where they don't have to pay rent for a certain period of time, let's say 6 months, okay? The problem is that, let's say it takes you 2 years to get open, right? You're paying rent starting at the 6-month mark without collecting any income.
Right.
And of course you're going to shut down, okay? So you never opened, and it happens all the time.
And Brenda's laughing because we've been through this process.
Yes.
Not for a restaurant, but for a wine store. All right, so number one, make sure you hire an attorney to go through the lease. That's a vital thing. And that can be done fairly quickly, too. A lawyer doesn't need a long time to go through a lease.
Very quickly. It depends on the attorney. You need to hire someone who has expertise in your industry, okay?
In the hospitality industry.
Well, if you're a hospitality business, if you're doing warehouses, you need a lawyer that knows warehouse leasing. So it's important to know, to hire somebody that knows the business.
That works in your field.
Exactly, because somebody can tell you this is how long it takes to open, this is what you need to know.
Right, and there's so many other things. And Daniel's with Sandman Savran, which is a hospitality specialist. There's some other issues that you have. Contracts that you have in management agreements between partners, for example. You're all best friends. You're going to open this wonderful business. You love each other. Do you really need an agreement? I mean, come on.
Everybody's happy when they go into the business.
Right.
What can possibly go wrong? We're all geniuses. You know, we're all friends. We're going to get into this business.
The wedding was great.
Yeah, we're gonna do great. This is going to be fantastic. So everybody goes into it and they say, we don't need an operating agreement. I trust you, right? What happens is, you know, then things start going wrong or things start going really well. And then there's something to fight about.
Right.
And that's when people get into trouble and they realize, oh my God, I should have signed that operating agreement. I wish I had something. You go to a lawyer. The lawyer is going to tell you it's going to cost you a bunch of money to solve this issue because you didn't sign an agreement with your partners establishing who's supposed to do what.
Right. Right. Who has the final say in matters, for example?
Of course, who has the final say in matters? Even who owns what percentage? I can't tell you how often people think that they own a percentage, and it turns out that they don't. You know, that they're fighting about it. You know, one person thought, oh, my partner owns 50 and I own 50, and the partner says, no, I own 75.
Right.
What do you do then? There's no document that says who owns what percentage.
What about just the normal things that someone comes into the store, they're a customer, they fall, they get sick, all those, can you do something about that in the process of doing that?
Well, get insurance. That's the number one thing. Have insurance to protect against these types of things and make sure that you have the right coverages. I just had a hotel client that had a slip and fall in the lobby. They thought they had insurance, and as it turns out, they didn't have insurance, and now they're going to get hit with a big lawsuit, and they're going to have to defend it out of pocket. So insurance is the number one thing. The second thing is preventative measures. Train your staff properly. Make sure that everybody's properly trained to handle these things. If you have written procedures, follow the procedures or don't have them at all.
Right.
Because I can't tell you how often it happens that somebody has procedures, they don't follow those procedures, and the plaintiffs are going to hit you over the head with your procedure and say, you didn't follow your own procedures.
And you're done.
And then you're done.
ADA issues.
Oh, ADA.
Right? American Disability
Yes.
Act.
So how do you prepare for this?
Well, so first of all, you build out the space, make it ADA accessible, right? You know that's going to be required to get a permit. Once it is ADA accessible, make sure it stays that way. So don't put obstructions on the ramps. You know, the toilets shouldn't have obstructions, you know, so that people in a wheelchair can get in and so forth. The other issue that's coming up now that's very hot is websites. Okay, your websites have to be ADA compliant. If you have a restaurant, yes, if you have a restaurant or if you have a hotel, your website has to be accessible to the hearing and visually impaired. If it isn't, you're going to get hit with a lawsuit. It happens all the time. I've seen thousands of lawsuits, thousands.
And there are people searching for just this, aren't they?
There are people online just surfing the web, finding websites that are not ADA accessible. There are programs that will scan your website and tell you if that website is not accessible. What will happen is you'll get a lawsuit or you'll get a demand letter and you'll have to pay because it's not accessible. So make sure that your websites are ADA accessible. That's very important. Hot topic today.
My wife worked for a very large kitchen concern across the country. They
Right.
were nationwide. And there was a guy who would come in at all their stores in a wheelchair with a tape measure. And he would measure 36 inches between each aisle. And if it wasn't, you got sued. So, I mean, they had to go throughout the entire country, hundreds of stores, to make sure they moved things an inch this way or an inch that way. But how can hiring a lawyer help with that process?
Well, the lawyer will keep you out of trouble. See, the problem is people don't want to spend the money until they get hit, right?
Yes.
And you know, if
And then
you,
it's almost too late.
exactly.
Right.
Well, then you're paying the lawyer anyway, and you're paying a lot more. So, you know, if you can have a lawyer advise you, give you sort of, you know, walk your property, give you some general advice, check your website, review your compliance. You know, it's going to cost you a couple of $1,000s, but
Well
that
worth it.
$2,000 will save you $50,000.
Oh, yeah, without
Right.
question.
So,
Right.
We're talking to Daniel Benavides, who's with Sandman Sabrin, and they are a law firm that specializes, a nationwide law firm, by the way, that specializes in hospitality issues. Hospitality issues. You're talking about restaurants, bars, hotels.
restaurants, bars, primarily restaurants, bars, hotels, travel agencies, destination management
The
companies.
cruise line industry.
The cruise line industry gets into more maritime law, which is a bit
Right,
of a separate issue,
right.
but we'll handle the hotel-related aspects of a cruise ship. We can advise on
Right.
that.
I can't tell you, because you know, I'm experienced with this, of the negative
Yeah.
side. Make sure someone first looks at that lease
Just make sure
Yes.
you're protected.
and make
Yeah.
sure that you've got an operating agreement with anybody who claims to be any partner whatsoever, and get that started.
Especially if they're friends and family.
Oh my gosh.
Because you don't
Oh,
want
we
that
got
to-
we have our operating agreement signed.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we
yes.
do.
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
we do.
Yes,
Good,
we do.
good.
We do.
By the way, you can follow Daniel at D Benavides, that's Benavides, at sandsav, SANDSAV.com. And follow him on Instagram at Hospitality Lawyer, at Hospitality Lawyer. This is about the most important. You know, as you look around, we've got all the people who have been guests signing the walls. You represent many of these folks.
I'd say about 40% of them
Right.
are my clients.
And they were smart enough to hire you.
That's why they're on the
Right.
walls.
That's why, why they still have a business. So that's
Exactly.
the reason for it. It's very important. By the way, join the Miami Dolphins family and get your membership for the 2020 season. Tickets to the season, home games at Hard Rock. There's so many wonderful things that are going to happen for the Dolphins this year. With the draft coming up, they've got more draft capital and more money under the salary cap than any team in football by far.
I love the coach.
And I do too. Brian
Love the
Flores is great. And a reminder to you, Miami Open begins March 23rd, runs through April the 5th, and that, of course, is at Hard Rock as well. Have a lot of fun with it. All right, Daniel, give me the one best piece of advice that you can give me for someone out there who wants to start a business.
Hire a good attorney.
Yeah,
Hire a good attorney.
isn't that the truth?
Yes.
You know,
yes.
you think you're spending money, but you're saving yourself
It's
money.
covering your bottom.
Yeah,
you know,
it
it
is.
just
Because guarantee you, in this world, in this day and age, you're going to need that agreement and everything that goes along with it, because somebody is going to come after you, unfortunately.
Eventually it will happen.
We're a litigious society,
Very.
and that's just the way it works. Daniel, thanks so much. Well, I learned
Thank you
so
for
much
having
with
me.
you.
I
Thank
know.
you.
Thank you so
so
much.
much.
having me.
Thank
Again,
you
he's
so
Daniel
much.
Benavides from
Thank you.
Sandman Sabrin, and they are a company that, a law firm that specializes in hospitality law. We're going to come back with more right after this. What do we have next, Brenda? You
Oh,
know?
what do we have next? We're going to taste some wine.
We're going to taste wine?
I think we're going to taste
Oh,
wine.
geez, we better get an agreement for that too, Brenda. Right after this, thanks, Daniel. Right after this, and eat this, drink that, go.